Okay, I think we are ready to go. As usual, if I am too loud or too quiet, first check your own volume. Make sure that you have it set up the way you normally do. And if I'm still too loud or quiet, let me know. Scream at me in the chat, and that will be an indication that I need to do something on my end. So I am streaming from a different perspective than usual. We've been doing things behind me, typically where I filmed the usual videos. I moved things this way so that I can use two screens. It was kind of a pain pivoting between my laptop and the second desktop we have back there. So I figured I would use my personal rig for both streaming and editing and pretty much everything else. We'll see how long this lasts. I always change stuff, so yeah. Power Up says, it's Gucci, Greg. That's good. Your voice is distorting because too loud. Don't think so. I don't think I'm too loud. You probably, yeah. People are saying, I'd say it's peaking for some reason. Huh, that's weird. Let me turn it down a little bit just in case. You guys who had me okay, bump me up just a little bit. And I can fix that. I'm barely touching yellow here, although I do, well, I say that, but then when I get close to the mic, it does peak a little bit. I think you guys are correct about that. Ben's, this is live. The thumbnail said live, so I wouldn't be that clickbaity. And then a couple others were saying that the GTX 1660 Ti, it sucks saying that name. I hate that name. 1660 is like the trashiest card name ever. They were thinking that was clickbait. It's not, and I have a good feeling this is actually going to be a real card. We've been seeing supplemental data roll out about this thing, and to be honest, I don't know very much. Just the few articles that I've read, I've seen a few pictures. There was supposedly a press event where they actually were, NVIDIA was talking with, to itself in a kind of a closed environment about this card. I don't know if that's super commonplace to have it look like a public event. So again, take all this with a grain of salt. But I put GTX 1660 Ti in quotes because that is just a precaution. Because if it comes back and haunts us and people, we find out that the card's not real, they're going to come to all of us and say, "What, you guys were promoting a card that doesn't even exist." And then I can be like, here's my cop out. I put quotes around it. So there's my cover. That's my little disclaimer there. But anyway, thank you guys for stopping by. This is a discussing RTX 2060 and GTX 1660 Ti video. Again, that second one is going to be in quotations because it's a rumor at this point. We don't have any official statement from NVIDIA regarding this card. We just have several leaks, and I really try to stay out of hyping up leaks. Every now and then I'll pump something out, just kind of talking about what the leaks, have been doing to the industry, what we've been seeing. I guess that's kind of supplementing it. I don't really know. But it's not something that I like to base the entire channel on. Let's just leave it at that. So this video, making it more or less for the RTX 2060, but we'll also talk a little bit about that. I have a couple articles I want to show you guys regarding supposed specs for the 1660 Ti, and apparently a non-Ti version. That one is a little less verified, if you will. A lot of quotations in this live stream. Anyway, you guys get the point. So let's start first with the RTX 2060. This is the one I'm sure you guys have already seen reviews of. You've already seen how it performs. I wanted to talk a little more about this raw to you guys before I publish my official video, because this is the first card NVIDIA's released since Pascal that I've actually been somewhat enthusiastic about. Again, it's not going to be a card that I think everyone looking to game in 1080p and 1440p should buy. I think that it does have a specific target audience, and that audience is going to be those who possibly can't afford the higher end RTX cards but still want the future proofness of ray tracing and whatever that might bring in the future. Now, we only have a couple games, really one, that can actually do anything with the ray tracing cores, with the RT cores, with the Tensor cores. Supposedly several others are in development, and some are coming out very soon, hopefully, but we'll see how long this lasts. Again, I really don't know how much ground this is going to cover within 1 year span of time. I mean, we had just heard of ray tracing in the mainstream from NVIDIA. Really, they were the first ones to bring it to the forefront. So that's kind of my take on the beginning of it. I really hope that you guys keep an open mind when I publish this review, because I know you guys already probably know how it stacks up. This card is similar to a GTX 1070, 1070 Ti, more toward a 1070 Ti. And those cards you can buy right now for, assuming that the shortage is not going to be, crushing the market, anywhere between 3 and 400, maybe 450. It's starting to venture into 1080 territory, but I would say no more than about $400 or so. And that's pretty good because this card is launching at MSRP 350 for that FE card. It's a beautiful design. I heard it's difficult to get into, but it is a very heavy, beefy card. It's going to run a little louder. It's it's still a stock NVIDIA cooler, if you will, but it is definitely improved from the previous blower style, in my opinion. So I'll be testing that, and I'll be testing thermals, I'll be testing sound, and then we'll probably do a few benchmarks outside of Battlefield 5, but I really want to focus on DXR with this card because this kind of ties into the 1660 Ti part. I was really surprised to begin with that NVIDIA even included RT and Tensor cores in a card of this caliber, in a 60 series card. So while I'm somewhat disappointed with the pricing strategy NVIDIA's been rolling out, especially with the higher end Turing stuff, I think that for a card in the $300 to $400 price range, it makes more sense, in my opinion, to knock the RT and Tensor cores completely off the chip, or I'm not sure if the 1660 Ti is going to have disabled RT and Tensor chunks of the die, or if the die will have them completely removed. I haven't done enough research to figure that out. My assumption is they'll probably still be in there. If they're not, then they have two separate processes going on behind the scenes. But I expected this card to not have RT and Tensor cores because I don't think it's going to be powerful enough to run games that, with DXR and DLSS and other things that are going to tax the heck out of cards like this, and especially cards that don't have any kind of behind-the-scenes tech trying to chug this stuff along. So my thinking is, all right, a 2060, people are going to buy this because either one, they can't afford the higher end stuff, which is fine. Honestly, I wouldn't spend $1,200, $1,300 for a top end Turing card either, so I don't blame you there. And even if you can afford it, you might not want to spend the money on it. Again, I don't blame you. So you might settle for an RTX 2070. Those are okay. I think the pricing's okay on that. I feel slightly better about the RTX 2060, but the caveat is, will it be powerful enough to run things like DXR? So what I'm going to do, especially in the benchmark, is in the benchmarking video, is stress the heck out of the card in Battlefield 5. I want to see what the optimal settings are for a card of this caliber in DX12 with DXR enabled, and we'll kind of play with some settings to see what we need to get 60 FPS, see what we need to have 100 FPS, and then hopefully, I don't expect to even hit 100 FPS with this card, to be honest. A lot of the higher end Turing cards were struggling to hit 100 FPS and 1080p with DXR enabled. So we'll see. We'll see. I have my hopes up, especially for the 1660. I'm crossing my fingers, hoping that thing becomes a real card. Because if it does, I think that will be a much more viable option for the average gamer. So it seems like NVIDIA has kind of alienated the average gamer with the release of Turing because we've had tech packed into it that we don't necessarily want to pay for, but that's in there anyway. And then guess what? We only have one game thus far that properly utilizes it, excluding those weird, what game was it that had the ray tracing, the real-time ray tracing, I saw it on Twitter, I can't remember, it was an old game. No, it's like Doom or something. I feel dumb now for not even knowing. Someone will know in the chat. Anyway, that was that was a really cool thing to watch. But yeah, so that's the issue I have with it, right? Is it not being as powerful as it probably should to be able to run the higher end stuff in games like DXR, DLSS? We just don't know yet. We only have one game to test it with. And Cody says, I'm also okay with not getting 100 FPS. That's fine. I mean, look, if you expect 100 plus FPS running DXR, especially with an RTX 2060, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. So if you're okay with that, if you're content with 60 FPS in 1080p, then that's fine. But my thinking is, if you're used especially to the higher refresh rates, 100 hertz plus, then dropping down to 60 hertz just for better reflections in a game, then you're going to be disappointed with that, and you're going to probably end up not using DXR in the first place. You're just going to run it as a typical card without RT or Tensor cores really doing anything. Quake 2. Thank you, guys. Quake 2. That was it. I knew it was I was thinking the original Doom, but yeah, Quake 2. Anyway, That's my thinking on the RTX 2060. And my hope is that the GTX 1660 Ti, if this card is actually a thing and it does hit the market supposedly in March, we'll look at a couple articles here in a second, then what we're going to end up with is a card that is probably going to be priced at around $300. And I think that's still pretty expensive for a 60 series card. But again, this comes down to what NVIDIA values, to the degree to which NVIDIA values their RT and Tensor Core technology. So if they're willing to axe these completely out of the die, then my assumption is they have a separate fab going for this, and that wouldn't technically make it a TU die, though. So I don't know. What defines a TU die? Is it the CUDA cores, or is it everything? Technically, it's everything for the higher-end cards. So I don't know. Depending on how they do this, we're going to end up with a card that I expect will be priced around $300. I'd be very surprised if NVIDIA priced this card any lower than $300. So really, when that card comes out, the question you're going to have to ask yourself is whether or not you value and look forward to developers including support for ray tracing, for real-time ray tracing, and using things like DXR, implementing things like DXR in-game. DLSS is another thing that's going to be interesting to see how AI cores work with that. But for the time being, I'm really looking forward to the 1660 Ti because I think that it's going to be a better value proposition for the average gamer. And going back to what I said just a second ago about NVIDIA kind of pricing out a large share of their market, typically how they do things, they launch the most expensive, the highest end cards first, or somewhat first, maybe a little out of order. The Ti, the 1080 Ti variant or whatever that equivalent would be, always comes a little later, it seems like. But RTX kind of changed things up a bit. But they release the higher end cards first because they know that fewer people buy those. So they basically flush those out of the market first, and then the heavy demand comes for the lower end cards, and that's where they start selling in huge bulks. And that's just typical, simple marketing strategy right there. So yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? If you're already considering an RTX 2060, it's probably because you want something in the 1070 to 1070 Ti range in that price category, that performance category, but you can't find either of those cards right now because the inventory, the stock of those cards is drying up. So it makes sense for NVIDIA to kind of slide in here, the intervening opportunity they're kind of creating for themselves to replace this card with one that is similarly priced and that also performs very similarly as well. So we're not getting a huge performance jump in the same price category as we did with Pascal, but we are still getting more tech. We're getting more technology. Granted, we don't use it in 99% of the games we all have in our Steam libraries, but it's there for the future. If you're banking on that tech, then the RTX 2060, in my opinion, is the best value buy right now. Maybe the 2070 if you can find a really good deal on one. I know Gigabyte's been selling the 2070s. They're gaming OC cards for pretty cheap, relatively speaking. Some of those cards though can still go for $500, $600, $700, and that's borderline RTX 2080 territory there. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm at with this. So I think what I'm going to do in my review, you guys are going to get a little inside scoop in this. For people who are watching live, if you watch this a little later, you might not watch it in time. But for the RTX 2060 review, I think what I'm really going to focus on is the Battlefield 5 benchmark because I really want to stress the viability of this card with DXR enabled. Granted, I know this is the first title, and I know it's still unoptimized as heck. Like, I was just playing BF5, and I could not, for the life of me, get my little mouse cursor to show up on screen. It was annoying as heck. And had a couple forced closes. This is like typical early launch stuff. But once they work out the kinks, is this card going to be viable? Does it make sense for NVIDIA to pack RT and Tensor cores into a die that is just not going to be able to pack enough punch to handle the computational workload associated with ray tracing, with real-time ray tracing? So yeah, that's my stance on the RTX 2060. We'll talk more about this. I'm going to take some questions. I'll try to answer some questions you guys have. We'll do the typical Q&A we always do in the live streams here in a second. And I just wanted to touch very briefly on the 1660 Ti and possibly even the 1660 non-Ti version because we do have, I would say, credible rumors, as like oxymoronic as that sounds. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. These are coming from sources that have been correct in the past. So I'm going to pivot on over to that. You can see here, this is a Tom's Hardware article. All these websites are basically compiling all the same source information. So it really doesn't matter which one you look at. But this is kind of a spec breakdown here. This is the RTX 2060, and you can see the 1660 Ti with asterisks, basically, as far as I know, indicating, what did I just do? Indicating that this is not set in stone yet. We don't know for sure. But if you haven't heard of what the 1660 Ti is supposed to be, this would probably give you a little bit of insight. We're expecting 6 gig buffer. We expect somewhere in the realm of 1536 CUDA cores, and a benchmark of Ash's, a Singularity, we all know how semi-reliable that is, was pitting this about, what did they say? I want to say it was 10% or so higher than a GTX 1060. Which isn't a big improvement. It's really not, but it is an improvement nonetheless. Again, this generation of card is not going to be comparable to the leap from Maxwell to Pascal, but it's just, I don't know. This is really all we have. And people are turning, this stuff into entire videos worth of information. I just don't think we know enough about it at this point for me to properly compile a video to present to you guys, which is why I'm doing it in a live stream. And I might talk a little bit more about it in my RTX 2060 review, which should be up on the channel next weekend. But yeah, I mean, this is really all we know, right? So all these question marks, we don't know what the clock speeds will be. We don't even know what the memory clock's going to be. Memory bandwidth, there's really nothing we can calculate here. TDP, I expect that will be slightly lower than 160 just because it'll be a slightly more cut down version of the 2060. Transistor count, not sure if they're even including the RT and tensor cores. It just makes sense that they would, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about the fabrication, about the yields on these for me to really make an educated guess. I'll let you guys decide for yourself, or link articles if you have any talking about that. But yeah, this is it. This is really all we know. So again, about 10% performance improvement. Expect that in the realm or so over a 1060, and that's really all we have here. So this article was talking about Palette. That's another manufacturer of cards more prominent in Europe, and they had listed the GTX 1160. What was this? Including graphics cards using NVIDIA's rumored GTX 1160, GTX 1660, and GTX 1660 Ti. No idea. I just read that one for the first time. This new listing disputes rumors that the GTX 1160 is fake. Lenovo posted it previously with a group of laptops. So, yeah, we're going to focus mainly on this one because we have a little more information backing up this one's viability. But there you have it. So pretty much all I wanted to show you guys, just a rough sketch there of what to expect. Again, kind of, I don't know, don't hinge too much on that 10% performance bump. This is, again, one game that we have to base this off of, and every game handles this stuff differently. But I'm expecting the price. I think the price is the most important thing. It's the one you guys really worry about the most, what you're getting for your money. I'm expecting around $300. I would be very surprised if NVIDIA charged any less than $300 for this card, and that's just because we kind of expect this from NVIDIA at this point. I don't think people are going to be too disappointed with the price. I think they're just going to kind of accept it as fact, and people who are going to cross their fingers and hold out for Navi are just going to be waiting a little while longer. So NVIDIA is still controlling a large chunk of the market, and that's kind of what we have to work with at this point. So if you're waiting, you're going to be waiting a little while longer. And if you were waiting for, more specifically, a 60 series card that's actually affordable and that actually makes sense, especially if you're not going to use the RT and tensor cores packed into these chips, then there's a bit of hope on the horizon. I don't think you'll be waiting too much longer. Again, I'd be very surprised if these cards don't actually exist, especially the 1660 Ti. It seems very credible. A lot of tech sites have already kind of just confirmed the existence of this card, but we'll see. We'll see. So that's pretty much the meat and potatoes of this live stream, and now I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Y'all have the floor, and I'm going to answer questions about anything and everything related to tech. Even if you want to have some personal stuff, I won't get too personal with it, but just some generic stuff. You guys want to know what's going on. I do see Bazinga donated $20 to the super chat. Bazinga, you are the boss. Bazinga is always in the live streams. I do appreciate the support. says, watched your video about cable management. As a fellow cat owner, I know the real reason was to keep the cables away from Pepsi. Let me tell you, my dude, I almost said she's sleeping right there at behind me, but on the floor. She loves it when I build because there's always stuff scattered everywhere, and she gets to kind of explore, check. She's sniffing around. She acts like a dog sometimes, checking things out, want to know what's going on. By the way, for those of you who are members, and you'll know if you're a member, if you have a star next to your name, it's like $5 a month. You get some perks in the live streams. You get like badges next to your name, also in the comment sections. You also get access to emojis. It's kind of similar to Twitch, basically. And if you do the colon and then you do science, let me see if it works. It's supposed to work. I don't know. It's not working for me. Maybe it's because I already started the live stream. Anyway, I have set up some emojis for you guys to use. And if you know how to use those already, it's kind of just surround the text with a colon. Anyway, if you type in science and then you do like cool, then that is going to basically replace the text with one of the 3 emojis we uploaded. So like 2 of them are my face, like just weird faces. Lisa actually took these from videos and like cropped them. And then the 3rd one is Pepsi. So if you type in science Pepsi, then you get a picture of Pepsi. She's like leaping up on 2 feet. So it's a cute pic. But anyway, it just gives you guys who are members a little more bang for your buck. I know it's difficult to justify $5 unless you're just like a diehard fan, and I do appreciate that. It really does help, especially during these months, because these months are kind of a slouch for a lot of tech channels. People spend a ton of money around Christmas time, and then, you know, as expected, it's just more about coasting to the next holiday season when the deals are running rampant again. So it does help. It really does. I appreciate your support, and I hope that you feel like you're getting something for your money. Anyway, I'm trying my best here to make this worth your while. And again, I think that the emojis are, or whatever you call them, I don't know, they're channel art. Yeah, custom emoji is what YouTube calls it. If you do that, then it'll replace it with one of the 3 that I uploaded. So there's Science Pepsi, the way that Doug is live. So Doug, the way you did it is how you're supposed to do it. And I wish I could post. I really wish I could post a trying to figure this out here. Now it's too small to even show you guys. Let me see. Oh, that's not too bad. Okay, I'll just swipe it over. All right, here we go. So that's the first one. And again, this is Lisa's doing, not mine. She chooses some weird ones. I don't know what kind of face you would call this, but it's my face. And that one is, all you got to do to type that one, and you guys can watch the chat. I know it'll be a little delayed. Is you got to do science and then cool. There you go. And then if you want to do science WTF, oops, I misspelled that. There we go. If you do science WTF, then this face comes up. And this one, this one is it's supposed to be the WTF face, right? So when somebody says something weird in chat, then you can flash them this face. Not my proudest moment, but you guys have that at your disposal if you are a channel member. And then I actually don't even think I can do it myself. I think members have to do it. So if there's a channel member in the chat, try it. If you have a star next to your name, try it. Let me know if it works. It probably won't, because I just added them like while the live stream was getting ready to start. So I'm kind of new to this. I apologize. And then the last one, if you type in science Pepsi, Pepsi is the name of our cat, then you get this picture. And this is also the work of Lisa, all 3 of these. So this is my favorite one, and she might not look super big in the chat when you type it in and it switches it over to a custom emoji, but anyway, you have that one there too. Oh, Pepsi just woke up. She's got her. We've got this like little fishing pole, and it's got a little feather tied. Well, actually, multiple feathers tied to the end of it on the string, and so I can hold the little pole side. I can just swing it around back and forth, and she's always trying to jump up and catch it. Anyway, yeah. It's just a good way to pass some time. Bazinga X again. Bazinga, another super chat, my dude. I am currently running. Oh, sorry, that was the wrong one. Okay, we now know what you think, but the important cue is what does Lisa think about the 2060 and 1660? I'll be honest, she probably doesn't know too much about them. Every now and then, one of you guys will creep into her live streams on Twitch, and y'all ask her some like technical question, and I'm listening to hear how she responds, and like she does a pretty good job. Actually, she deals with it very well. Like if she doesn't know something, in good enough detail to answer properly, she'll kind of just dish it off to the side or say she'll ask me and come back to whoever asked the question. But she probably I showed her this card earlier and she's like, "What's that?" I was like, "It's a new card. It's a new graphics card. Check it out." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then that was basically the entire conversation. So yeah, it wasn't too exciting. Anyway, that's her enthusiasm. Her enthusiasm for tech is more like rooted in live stream tech. Like obviously that's what she does. So she likes to, she just got a stream deck, so she's all about that. She's like tinkering with it, like setting it up exactly how she wants. Anyway, Bazinga says it does not work. That is a shame. Darn it. So, oh wait. Yeah, it didn't come up. Yeah, so what we'll have to do, I think you can do these too in the comments section. So after the live stream posts, after it's archived and then uploaded officially as a video on the channel you can view, try to comment with an emoji. I'll put a pinned comment up there too with the 3 different emoji text words. If you just do the colon and then science, it should come up. But anyway, then we can test it there. I think it's because the live stream... Lisa just commented. I think it's because the live stream was active, not live, but it was active. It was already kind of preloaded when I created the emoji. So we'll try it again. I think it'll definitely be up by next time. If YouTube gets its stuff together, I think we'll be good to go. 1.7 M views asks, so the GTX 1660 basically is a Turing base and 12 nanometer GTX 1060. Yeah, so think of it like a slightly more cut down RTX 2060 because it has fewer CUDA cores apparently. I think 1920 in the 2060, and I think the 1160 Ti has 1536. Yeah, 1536. So slightly more cut down. Again, maybe 10 to 15% performance improvement over the 1060, depending on driver optimization and the game itself. And then it's not going to have Tensor or RT cores, is what we're expecting. And that's going to chop a good, level there off the price. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm not too sure yet. But based on what we were talking about earlier in the live stream, we will, hopefully we'll know soon. And I think the cards will be announced sometime around March. So, awkward sip there of the water. All right, Ghost Potato, $10 super chat. My dude, I appreciate that. I am currently running 2 GTX 1080s and SLI. I did that for a long time, actually, believe it or not. Would upgrading to a single 2080 Ti, sorry about that bump, 2080 Ti be a significant improvement in performance for gaming, or should I just keep my current setup? So here's what I'd do, Ghost Potato. The 2080 Ti is definitely going to be an extra kick. Look, whenever you SLI 2 cards, a lot of games won't even utilize the second card, and if they do, it'll only be maybe to 10-20% or so of like its full potential. So you're really not even getting a full second GTX 1080 out of performance. So let's assume you have just a single 1080. Then the jump from that to an RTX 2080 Ti is gonna be pretty substantial. If you want to compare it to other RTX cards, a 1080 is going to compare to an RTX 2070. They trade blows. A 1080 Ti is going to compare to an RTX 2080. And then we really have nothing to compare it to the RTX 2080 Ti. It's just a matter of how much money you want to really spend on that card. But here's my thinking. If you save those 2 GTX 1080s just a little while, you're fine, I'm assuming, where you are. Those are beefy cards. They're still viable in 2019, perfectly viable. They're actually really good cards, especially if you can get them used for around $300. I would wait a little longer, let the inventories dry up just a bit more. You got to play the market. There's nothing wrong with this. Sell those cards when there aren't really many places to buy them new. So that gives the used market an edge. You can kind of dictate your prices a bit more, maybe get a few more bucks out of your cards if you decide to sell them, especially on a site like eBay. So let's assume you sell them in 6 months for, I don't want to say 400. Let's say, screw it, let's say 400 bucks each. I don't know what kind of 1080s they are, but let's assume they're decent cards. If you sell those for 400 bucks each, that's 800 bucks in your pocket. Then you only need a few hundred more to get to a 2080 Ti. And I think that's pretty good, right? Paying 200 to 300 bucks for that kind of performance bump is nice if you can get your money out of those cards, those 1080s. 400 bucks for 1080s is going to be a stretch. It really depends on the market. I was paying 300 bucks for mine used. But that was before Pascal inventories really started drying up. So it depends. You got to just play the market, feel it out. If you want to sell local, that's really where you're going to have to kind of see what other people are pricing their stuff at. Start with a price that's slightly higher than what you'd take at your lowest, and then just kind of haggle. That's the joy of selling used, is you can kind of barter your own way to an agreement with the opposing party. So, yeah, that's my take on that. Now, Lucas Waskowski, I hope I said that right. $20 super chat. I appreciate that. What happened to ATI, and why don't they have the graphics card for AMD? Weren't they always on par with NVIDIA? So this is going to require just a bit of research on my part. I did, I believe, at one point talk about ATI in a previous video. But ultimately what happened was they were acquired, and let me see, I'm going to look this up real quick to make sure I don't spill any information that's inaccurate. It's the joy of having a PC right in front of me. I can check on this stuff for you guys. I know you could just Google this just as well as I could. But from my understanding, right, ATI was acquired in 2006. Yep, and let's see, the acquisition of ATI was important to NVIDIA's, or not to NVIDIA, to AMD's strategic development of its Fusion generation of computer processors, which integrated general processing abilities with graphics processing functions within a chip. Since 2010, AMD's graphics processor products have ceased using the ATI brand name. So, to go back to your question, what happened to ATI? First off, they were bought. They were acquired by AMD. And then what AMD did was take some of the stuff that ATI was bringing to the table and using that to create the Fusion chips. And the Fusion chips were some of the first APUs on the market. And an APU is a CPU and a GPU kind of combined into a single package, into a single die. So this right here is a Ryzen 5 2400G. Now, most Ryzen CPUs do not have integrated graphics processors, which means that if you were to build a Ryzen system and not connect a discrete graphics card, like an RTX 2080 or even something as cheap as like a GT 730, you couldn't get any signal from your motherboard to your monitor. So even if you had HDMI outs on your B350 or B360 or X370, X470 motherboard with like a Ryzen 2600 in it, you wouldn't get any signal to your monitor because there's nothing to process the graphics in the CPU, and you don't have a discrete GPU to do that for you. So the G processors have, basically these are APUs, they have Vega graphics built in as well as Ryzen cores. So they will almost always end up running a bit hotter, consume a bit more power because, again, they're handling graphics and the external software processing, and that is, in a nutshell, what an APU is. And the reason why the Fusion processors were so prominent back then is because they were some of the first to successfully implement APUs, successfully implement GPs inside of CPU dies, making them APUs. And yeah, so there you go, a little bit of history. I learned a little something. Hopefully you learned a little something. And there we go. Since 2010, AMD's graphics processor products have ceased using ATI brand name, which means that AMD wanted basically full control, full credit for this stuff. And it makes sense, right? If you buy a car from somebody, do you really want that person's name on your car because it's yours now? So that's usually what they do, is they kind of phase it out slowly. And so it looks like they took the technology that ATI was bringing to the table, threw it into its Fusion generation of processors. And let's see, click on Fusion here real quick. Designed to act as a central processing unit and graphics processing unit on a single die. And that, my friends, is an accelerated processing unit. That's an APU. So yeah, it's really cool. Anyway, awesome. I hope I hope that shed some light on it. And yeah, all right. So you guys, questions. I just got through some of the super chats. If you have questions, I am ready to go. Someone asked if the 2400G is good. I think it's a better solution, a more viable, value conscious solution than pairing like a cheap Pentium CPU with like a GT 730 or even like a 750 Ti. I think APUs, especially the 2400G, I think that APU in particular is a pretty good value. So for around 100, and what are they selling for right now? Let's see, 2400G, and it's selling for about 150 bucks right now. You can get it on B&H Photo for 150. That's pretty good. Let's see what Amazon's selling it for. Amazon selling, yeah, so for 150. I think the Ryzen 5 2400G makes a lot more sense than the Ryzen 3 2200G. That hyper-threading is going to make a pretty big difference, especially when everything's being handled on the core. And then also making sure that you pair this with Ryzen-compatible RAM, meaning that you could overclock the RAM or reach a much higher frequency just by running XMP or something of the like. And then also running in dual channel, because that makes a bigger difference with APUs. Then you'll be set. So anyway, I just realized that, yeah, I just realized that I had clicked back to the other to the other screen. But yeah, so that is my take on the 2400G. I think it's actually a pretty good processor. I think for someone on a budget, I'm actually building Lisa's mom. I'm gonna build her a system using a 2400G, and I'm only gonna put that in it. Like I'm not gonna put a graphics card in it, a discrete GPU. It just doesn't make any sense. So. Yeah, I Am Groot says 139 at Micro Center. That's pretty sweet. I'm assuming you're talking about the 2400G. And let's see here. Alex donated 50 SEK. No idea what that is, but I appreciate the donation. Why is it that there are literally 0 reviews on 2080s without factory overclock? Are they just garbage that companies want to hide away? 0 reviews of 2080s without factory overclock. I'm confused. Someone says I'm clipping a bit. I don't think I'm not showing any clipping on my end. I'm barely touching yellow, unless I get really close, and then I might clip just a tiny bit. If I'm clipping any more than that, then it's probably something on the soundboard, which is going to require me to really pay attention to the setting. I haven't touched stuff on there since the last live stream, so I'd be surprised if it was hardware related. It's probably software on my end if you're actually hearing that much clipping. Anyway, but yeah, I would say that the 2080s without factory overclock. I mean, when I did my 2080 review of the Asus Strix card, I just ran it at stock. I think I don't even know if I overclocked it because there was really no point. Like the card was already basically hitting its peak power draw. It was limited by the BIOS power limit. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what your question was, but I just tested it as it was out of the box. Because most people are going to buy these cards and not even try to overclock anymore. They're just going to assume that the card is already good as is and not bother with messing with any of that other stuff. Grum says I'm not clipping. You aren't clipping. It's probably on the other dude's end. Okay, well that's good to know. If I do clip, you guys just all caps it. It's okay. Just don't spam. But just all caps it. Diego, that's a good question. What is your audio setup? So right now I'm using a Behringer B1. I use an AT2035, which is right there. I use that for normal videos. So anytime you watch a regular video on the channel, the AT2035 is the mic that I use. But when I'm doing live streams, I'm doing stuff that requires me to be right in front of a PC. I use the B1, or I'll use like a Rode VideoMic Pro Plus. But right now, B1 it is. And then my soundboard is a Yamaha MG10XU. That has the U stands for like USB, so it means you can connect it via USB. So you get a 24. Yeah, let me see. 24-bit connect. I thought it was 10-bit. Anyway, 24-bit, 192 kilohertz, which is a slightly higher sample rate for audio. So it'll sound a little better. But yeah, so I use that mixer. It's definitely overkill. I don't need that many channels. So I just use one. Used to use two, but one is still really underkill for this. And then I connect that straight into the PC, into the motherboard via just a 3.5mm adapter. So. That's just, yeah, that's it. That's literally all it is. I'm not a super hardcore, like, audiophile. I do appreciate good speakers. I have a really nice clip set in the living room, and then I actually have a clip set here as well. It's a 2.1 Bluetooth clip set that I use like just to listen to music here. And then I also have Edifier speakers that were sent to me. I did not do a review on them yet because I'm just really trying. I really contemplate. I'm like, okay, how am I going to get people to understand these are good sounding speakers? I can't just stick a mic up to them because there's going to be some loss in audio clarity there, and then it's going to be processed, and it's just not going to sound as good as it does when you actually listen to it in person. So kind of a problem there. I'm just a little confused. There was a question from Max, Fractal Design Meshify S2 thoughts. Okay, so if you watch my Define R6 review, all right, it's basically that. Slightly different internal layout. That panel right next to the motherboard tray is different. It's more suited for mounting water cooling gear like reservoirs, pumps, things of that sort. So it's a case that I would choose over the R6, put it that way. And I imagine that a lot of their sales are going to go more now to the S2 than they are to the R6 because they're basically the same case, basically the same dimensions. Of course, you have the mesh front now, so it's going to have similar airflow properties to that of the Meshify C. And then it's basically an extended version of that. So more water cooling room. You're not going to have as many graphics card clearance issues with the S2. I doubt you'll have any at all, really, unless you like pack a super thick rad in there up front. But anyway, I think it's a just much more roomy case. Typical Fractal Design cable management. Again, very similar to my review of the R6. And I'll be building in the S2 very soon. So stay tuned for that. But it's a very good case. I think the price point is pretty much where I'd expect it. It's about $150. That's not bad. Like the PCO11 Dynamic is still, in my opinion, a slightly better value. But I understand that not everyone likes that design. A lot of people like Fractal's kind of like disguised look, very down to earth and just simplified. I don't know. People say it's like the Scandinavian design, but it does look very appealing. It looks very, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm looking for like elegant. It's like prestigious looking almost. And that's why I have no problem promoting it. Like I love Fractal cases. I've been using a Meshify C for I don't know, over a year now. And the S2 is just an extended version of that. I think it's a good case. So anyway, yeah, I would never promote anything that I didn't think was a good value or I didn't think I would ever use personally, and I'm actually going to personally use the S2 very soon. We shot those, the pre-roll that you guys saw in the last video, we shot that in Vegas with that Aventador. Man, let me tell you, that car was insane. I've sat in a few V10s, driven a few V10s, but a V12 is just an animal. Like, it is a totally different vibe. And what they were telling me was that car is like super expensive to maintain. I'm like, yep, definitely not going to own a V12 at any point during my life. So if I get the opportunity to buy an expensive sports car, it will be at the most a V10. I know the R8s and the Huracans, they have the Audi sourced V10s in them, are fairly reliable, relatively speaking. But they were telling me the V12 is just a pain to work on. And then also the McLarens were also pretty expensive to work on. So yeah, I love cars. That's my second love. But I was into cars before I was ever into PC tech, so really it's my first love. Anyway, yeah, sophisticated. I like that Quay Dog. That's a good word to describe it. A sophisticated look for the Fractal cases. Always have, and that's why I just, especially the Meshify C and now the S2. I really like the way that front panel looks. Some people were saying that it just wasn't like coherent, didn't look simplified, but I love that. I think it's minimalist looking. You just get those sharp little facets, those little edges there that reflect light differently, makes it look very elegant in my opinion. Anyway, Pato Hernandez, what do you think is the best MATX case right now? Tough call. For MATX cases, speaking of Fractal, I think the is it the Meshify? I want to say it's I know the Define. Is it the Mini C that is the smaller version? Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, Define Mini C. Yeah, that's what it is. I was trying to remember the case name. Yeah, the Define Mini C is very cool, and that's the MATX version of the Define C or the Meshify C with the solid front panel, but still. So I think that's a really good MATX case. Again, very similar internal structure, and it's going to go a long way in terms of cable management. I really like what Fractal does with cable management there. Tons of space toward the front with which to manage cables. And then another case that I haven't built in, but I know essentially what's comprised in it. I have the H700i. I also have the H200i, but the H400i looks like a really great case from NZXT. And I wonder how many of you guys have that that case. Look, here's what I really like about MATX cases on that topic. Whenever you have a build like this one here, I know you guys can't see it, but whenever I have a build with a single graphics card in it, no matter how thick that card is from like a horizontal perspective, there's just so much dead space below the card, right? Which just makes me want to put a second card in there, even though I know that SLI is not very efficient. I still want to put a second card in there if I can, because it just makes the build look so much more cohesive and filled up. But the problem is you have to pay what, $2, $3, $4, even $600, $700 to get a second card that looks the same as the first one, and then on top of that, the card's probably going to run hot and consume significantly more power, especially when you're doing things that actually utilize both GPUs to their fullest potential. So my thinking is, all right, if that's too big then and you only want to run a single card, then get an MATX case, slightly smaller motherboard, and now that graphics card is just so much more centered in the build and there's not so much dead space. I know that's like super picky, and honestly the way a build looks is not going to change much about its performance at all unless we're talking about airflow restrictions or something of that sort. But if it's your build, if it's your baby, you put that much time into it, then you want to make it look good. And in my opinion, micro ATX builds that have look much better than full size ATX builds if there's only one graphics card involved. Unless you populate the other PCIe slots with like capture cards or something. Like I'm using a capture card here, but it's so slim, like there's still a ton of dead space there. So you could actually get by with running like an H400i or a Define Mini C, having a 2-slot card up top, and then also putting a capture card down below, and still giving your graphics card enough room to breathe a little bit. So, yeah. Colin Burgess says, just join. What's going on, Colin? How you doing, my dude? Dwayne says, just vertically mount the GP fills it up pretty well. Well, actually, you can see, well, you can't really see there. That one's vertically mounted. And I really enjoy vertically mounted cards. I think they do look good, and they do fill up that space, definitely, but they consume all of your PCIe slots. So you're literally cutting every opportunity you have out of your system to throw in something like a capture card, more USB drive or USB ports, whatever you might use that, those other PCIe slots for. But that's the problem with that. So if you're okay with that, just running a graphics card and that's it, then yeah, I agree. The cable or the vertical brackets, especially from like Cable Mod or Cooler Master, are going to go a long way. But if you want to be a little more versatile, then you can't really use that. Tim Horton asks, can I tweet a photo of my build to you and you tell me what you think? Go ahead, Tim. I'll keep a lookout on Twitter. I'll go ahead and open my phone right now. This will be pretty fun. And I'll reply. And if anyone else wants to see what I'm looking at, then they can check out the Twitter handle. Twitter is, if you check the video description, you guys can see it. Let's see. Checking some other stuff I had here. I got a Hulu notification. Hulu's so dumb. If you register a device on Hulu and then you don't use Hulu on that device for a long time, then it kicks that device off of your plan. That's annoying. And then Hulu raises prices for the live TV subscription, of course, so I might be switching to YouTube TV here soon. Let's see. Dwayne Force says, mine is wide enough to vertically mount the GPU and a sound card and an M.2 adapter. Yeah, but then that means you have a really, really big case. And even then, you're still going to have dead space below or above to have enough room to put those extra things in those other PCI slots. So it comes back to the same problem again. Just too much dead space. Tim says he tweeted. Let's see, Tim. I want to open it up here. I'm looking for it. Huh. That's weird. I don't have your thing on here. Sorry for the awkward pause there. I'm trying to figure out why I can't see his tweet. Yeah, I can't see it, Tim. I'm looking for it. Unless I have it filtered to where I see tweets from people who I follow and who I don't follow, and even those who aren't following me. I don't know why I can't see it, though. That's really strange. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Mr. Zombie says, love my huge case. Bum, bum, bum. Dwayne says that the sound card and M.2 adapter are mounted horizontally behind that GPU. Okay, do you have a case that has like no PCIe brackets, or no like little slot covers running from the motherboard side toward the left side panel? So probably like the PCO11 Dynamic doesn't have any of those brackets, and then like the Cooler Master H500 doesn't either, as far as I know. Now, Adam says, what are your thoughts on Navi Zen 2, Greg? I have videos already talking about that, Adam. Go ahead and check those out, my dude. Yeah, Noel says he can't see it either. I don't know what's going on. I'm looking for it, Tim, but I can't see it. Caleb sent a tweet too. Do I have a filter that just like completely... Maybe I do. I don't know. I've never realized that I had a filter that prevented me from seeing things that people tweet directly at me. Maybe that's the problem. It's probably on my end. I don't know what I'm doing on here. Let me see. All right, settings and privacy, notifications. Okay. I have a quality filter on. I don't know what the heck that does. I don't know. Photo tagging, Twitter teams allow anyone to add you to their team. Tweet location. This is really weird. Does anyone else know what you guys know what I'm looking for, right? Like for some reason I can't see, there's like filters, like like it mutes or like auto mutes stuff that people tweet directly at me, which I might have turned on in the past. I have no idea. Mute notifications from people with a new account. No, turn that off. We have a default photo. No. Okay, screw it. I'll just like take everything off. Now let's see if I see it. Nope, I still don't see anything. Let me Google it. Why can't I see things people tweet directly to me? So when you tweet this, when you guys are talking about tweeting stuff to me, are you just like adding me? Like, are you like, that's what I'm expecting you guys are doing? Because if you try to send me a DM, I'm not going to see it. I have a filter on for that. I get tons of DMs if I didn't turn that on. But if you are just trying to send me a tweet, like just straight up out of nowhere, just do @ScienceStudioYT and then attach the picture or whatever it is, and I'll see if I can see it. I don't know. I've turned off all the filters, so I don't know why the heck I wouldn't be able to see it. Direct messages? I don't know what it's called. Yeah, this is going to take a while to figure out because I don't know what the... Let's see, privacy settings. Allow anyone to tag you in photos. Ah, jeez. I don't know. I have no idea. Notifications. I mean, yeah, there's like a quality filter, but I don't think that's filtering that. Friend accounts. Muted words. I have no muted words included or anything like that. Excuse me. I don't know. Man, I don't know, dude. I have to figure that out. But if you guys know what I'm looking for, if you know what I'm talking about, let me know. People are sending me pics, and I'm not seeing them. So if you know what I'm talking about, if you know that let's see. Yeah, click the tweet to button. Okay, so someone looked that up. I don't want to take up the whole live stream looking that up, but someone look up how to unmute or unhide direct tweets or whatever that is, right? If you go to my profile page by clicking that link down below in the video description, and then you click tweet to, and then you send me something, figure out how to turn off that filter, because obviously that filter's on. That's why I can't see any direct tweets, which sucks, because that means that, okay, I see Tim. Yo, I see that one. Okay, this is weird. So I saw a Tim Lundvist. I see that one. He asked if I saw it. So yeah, that I'm getting that one, but I'm not getting the others. That's really weird. Anyway, Chance E says keep your heads high and have a good night. Good night, Chance. Thanks for stopping by on the live stream. Appreciate it. Sorry I got a little dull here for a second. We're trying to figure this out so I can better communicate with you guys. Ah, Cypher, I see it now. This is a test. LOL. Can you see this? That is a sexy looking system, my dude. I don't know if you guys can see this, but that is... Oh, whoops, I just completely canceled it out. Let's see here. There we go. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's going to be kind of blurry. Let's see if I can zoom in. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, get all up in on that. Fix that focus. Am I getting there? Oh, yeah, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. You guys see that? So anyway, I can zoom away from my face again. Sorry about that. Am I crispy? I can't tell if I'm crispy or not. I gotta see if I'm in focus. Looks like it's good enough. That looks a little better. Yeah, we'll see. I'm looking at myself right now streaming that. That's so weird. All right, still nothing. I got you, Tim. I see it now. Rate my setup. Looking good, Corbin. Looking good. Is that an Xbox One over there? Xbox One S? All right, all right. I see you got your priorities straight, though. You put a lot of money into that rig. It looks good. I like that, Corbin. I can see this, Keegan. You guys have nice setups. Custom lube. All right. Savage Astronaut. That is looking sexy. Is that the H500? That's a good looking build right there, my friend. Okay, so we fixed it. I don't know what I did to fix it, but we fixed it. So thanks for helping me out, guys, for sending me pictures. Those are really good builds, by the way. And it's good. So now I can actually see things that people tweet directly at me. I didn't realize that I couldn't see that before, so that sucks. Let's see here. Okay, scrolling up. Ooh, Bazinga again, $5 super chat. My dude, Bazinga, come on, my dude. V10 or wife? You went with wife. What were you thinking? V10 or wife? You went with wife. What were you thinking? Am I reading that wrong? I'm confused. I think I know what you're trying to say. Yeah, I chose her. It's hard. It's hard to resist. She's so sweet, and you know, like, I always thought it was silly when people would say, "Oh, I locked eyes with this person and I immediately fell in love." Like, I don't think I necessarily did that with Lisa, but like when I met her, I was like, "Wow, she is beautiful." And then she would talk, and like, I love her voice. Like, her accent is so cute. And then on top of that, like, she's actually a down-to-earth chick. She plays video games like really well, like better than I do. And she puts up with my crap. So to me, that's a win-win-win-win. And a V10 just isn't as, I mean, V10s are a dime a dozen, but a girl like her, no way. So I couldn't let her slide. I couldn't let her slip. Let's see, scroll down. Gotta scroll down. Okay, let's see. Booman says, these tech tubers seem to have understanding of an NVIDIA. You mean NVIDIA? I don't know what you're talking about. How can 10.6 GTX RX 60 chip be okay to be sold as 2070 while being low mid-range card? Something is not right with tubers. I mean, I called this out. Like, I literally talked about this in my old review. Or not my review, but my coverage of it at CES. The 2060 is an expensive 60 series card, no doubt about it. And it's not bringing much more to the table than a card that already costs that price from the previous generation already is. The difference is we're getting RT and Tensor cores packed into it. And at that point, are we really getting much more out of it? Because again, I can count on one hand. I can count with just one finger the number of games that currently utilize to any extent RT and Tensor cores. So yeah, I've already talked about this. You can watch those videos about it. But anyway, let's see here. Ba, 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 ba. Okay. Okay. Dustin Gangi, is that how you say your name? Ganji? Hey Greg, I was wondering if you personally would recommend I get an H500 Define C or Meshify C for my new build, currently using an S340 going to the girlfriend. So I've built in the H500, H500P, I think. I've also built in a Define C, Meshify C, so I think I can give you decent insight here. The Meshify C is going to be my favorite case overall to build in. The H500 is more roomy, so if you're concerned about room, then I would go with the H500, unless you're talking about NZXT. If it's the NZXT H500, then I haven't built in that one. The H500 does look really enticing. I haven't built in it yet, but I plan to, and when I do, I'll be sure to let you know. But for right now, I do not think you will be disappointed if you go with the Meshify C. So if you're on the fence about whether or not that case is going to be good for your needs, just make sure that, you know, if you have a really long graphics card, you might have some clearance issues if you're pairing that with an AIO that you're placing up front. That's happened to a few Asus cards and other longer cards. Other than that, though, it's a beautiful case and decently priced at that. Let's see. Okay, here. So delicious. Would you buy a 1080 Ti from a miner for $600? No, not for $600. No, I only buy cards that are really good deals that stand out in my opinion. That are like very different from how they were in the new market. 600 is too close to retail for me to feel comfortable, especially from a miner. Savage Astronaut. Hey Greg, 1G, not 2. I only say that because like. Whenever I see 2G's and the name Greg at the end, I always want to say Greg Gugu, but my name's just Greg, so I just have 1G. Pet peeve. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about that. Anyway, Astronaut, do you have a Discord for your followers to chill and chat in? If not, you should consider it. Savage, check the video description, my dude. It is there. That's our public Discord. And yep, we share it with Brian over at Tech City. So if you want to join it, go ahead and do that. I pop in every there from time to time. We also play some games with the Discord members from time to time as well. We're gonna get something set up. We're gonna try to start getting the streams going, not streams, but the games going again. We were doing PUBG basically every weekend, so we'll do something like that again soon. We did it once before the new year, and then CES came up and everything got screwed up. But anyway. Victor's22, $5 New Zealand dollars. My dude, I appreciate that. Good to see you again, Victor's. Hope you are doing well, my friend. We talked a few times in the past, and he's always in the live stream, so I appreciate your support. Hey, Greg, I sent you a pic on Twitter of my setup. I gotta see. Maybe I already looked at it. I don't remember if I did or not. Let's see here. Victor's, I think you did. Oh, yeah, Corbin O'Neill. Yeah, rate my setup. I like that. It looks good. That was one I pointed out. Sorry, I missed your super chat, but I did mention it. I did bring it up. Yeah, CJ RHD Greg G. You see that? Hey Greg. Oh, Nicholas. All right. Yeah, I know. Y'all think I'm being super anal about my spelling. I don't know. I just think it's really weird to spell Greg with 2 G's. Like, why is the second G even there? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Anyway. Nicholas says, I like your glasses. I appreciate that. They're a little bigger than I would have liked. My last set of frames were slimmer and not as wide on my face. But I feel like I'm starting to fill them out. And people get used to it, so... over time, I think people will become more acquainted to it and get used to it. Greg says, I get called Craig. It's annoying. Oh, God, I know the same issue. I understand that totally. Like, over the phone, especially when you say a G sound, like G, it sounds like K, you know, over the phone. So they always think it's Craig. And I have to spell it like G, like giant, or whatever the G call sign is. But, yeah, I know I know what you're talking about. I think that's a problem every Greg faces. Let's leave it at that. Let's see. Scrolling up. Any more questions, my friends? I am looking. Katie says, I saw you built in this Aerocool Cylon Mini. Do you think removing the front panel like an inch from the fans will be decent improvement on airflow? Probably. That case is not the best for airflow. I would buy that under like an extremely like tight budget. It's just a cheaper case. Like that's the target audience for it. That's why we built in that case for that budget system that we put together. I think it was like $450 or $500, something like that. So we used the Cylon Mini for that because it was an affordable case. Still had RGB, so people felt like they could customize a little bit more, and it got the job done. Right? It was not necessarily bare bones, but it was definitely more stripped down than your typical ATX case that costs say $100. So yeah, the front panel, I think if you remove the front panel or like spaced it out a little bit more, definitely you'll improve your airflow there. I didn't really critique the case on airflow because it's just, I don't think that's what it's trying to do. It's not going to absolutely suffocate your build, right? Even if you put fans up there, but it's definitely not optimized for airflow. Let's put it that way. Let's see here, scrolling down. Eddie Sawyers, would you buy used computer parts on eBay? Eddie, I literally have videos where I do this thing. Like I built an entire system from eBay used parts. So go watch that video. Mr. Zombie, what's a good 6th gen MATX motherboard? 6th gen. So you talking Skylake 6th gen? Oh gosh, Z170. I like the Asus Prime boards from them. I like MSI has some really cool Z170s. It's been a while. I really like, as far as I know, you can use Z270 boards on them too. I don't know if you're going to find many Z170 boards on the market anymore, but Z270s might still be there, and then also Z370s. So it will depend, but we'll see. Christopher Crystals. Chris is awesome. I know Chris very well, and it's always cool to meet him at parties and stuff at the events like CES. I just saw him again there at CES. Speaking of game night, how about playing some Sea of Thieves? I've been playing a little bit this past weekend. It's surprisingly fun now with a group. Sea of Thieves. I'm going to do a quick Google search of this. Let me get all up in this business. Sea of Thieves. All right, let's see here. Dr. Disrespect believes Sea of Thieves could be the next big game on one condition. Oh, okay. Uses the Unreal Engine. Of course, this is the stuff tech nerds always look at, like the game engine and all that sort of stuff. Okay, let's see. Windows and Xbox One. Development. Okay, gameplay. Sea of Thieves is a pirate-themed action-adventure cooperative multiplayer game based from a first-person perspective. Features cross-platform play between Windows and Xbox One console. That's pretty cool. A group of players travel and explore an open world via a pirate ship and assume different roles such as steering, hoisting sails, navigation, firing. That's just really cool, actually. So you have to rely on your teammates quite a bit, it sounds like, in this game to actually get anything done, which is exciting and also extremely frustrating depending on who you're playing with. So don't worry, Chris, I won't let you down. I'll check it out. I don't have that game. I'll see how much it is, and might even, if it's stable enough, I might even benchmark with it. So we'll see. But thanks for the recommendation because Lisa and I have just now got into like some serious like Battlefield 5 playing. We're trying to feel it out, see if we actually want to like stream that stuff, if she wants to stream it all on her channel. So we're not too sure yet. But finding a game that's like not as like, intensive as Battlefield 5, but that still requires you to actually put work in would be pretty cool. So we'll see. And then maybe I can get my brothers to play with us too. Let's see. Dustin asks, how and when did you decide to switch to YouTube full time, and what are you doing before that? Okay, so I have a video talking about this as well, about like how YouTube became my full time job. Before this, I was really just a college student. So I got my engineering degree when I was 22, and then that was by that point the YouTube channel had like 150 to 200,000 subs, and with my degree, the starting salary and with my degree is between 60 and 80K. Typically, petroleum engineers make a lot more than your average engineer, but they're very specific at what they do. So it's, if the market is, if the oil market is bad, then it's a lot more difficult to get a job, and that's the downside of this. So it's risky. But fortunately, the YouTube channel was already doing quite well. I didn't see the need to really push tons of resumes into that space. I didn't really feel like I think I applied to like 2 positions, but by that point I didn't hear anything back, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to take this very seriously then if YouTube's already doing its thing. So I have a fallback, but the next thing I did while I was still running the channel, I went online. I got my MBA online. So now I have a master's degree, and I don't use that either. I'd like to say that it helps me a little bit with managing the YouTube channel, especially the financial side of it. My concentration in the MBA was finance, but it really serves me no real world purpose, at least like in the corporate world. So yeah, I learned some cool stuff from it, and hopefully it's an epic fallback. If I something happens to the channel, it gets deleted tomorrow, I have something to fall back on. It's really weird to look at that as a fallback, but anyway, it's there. And that's really what I was working on before and during this. And then how I started the channel, I have videos talking about that. I won't waste too much time for the other live streamer or live viewers, but I have videos talking about how the channel started, how I funded the channel, all that good stuff. Grum says the word engineer gets thrown around too readily today. Too readily. Well, I don't know what you mean by that. I have a bachelor's of science in petroleum engineering, so it required me to take thermodynamics, statics, mechanics, fluid dynamics, electrical circuits, all that good stuff. Yeah, and then it was like straight up petroleum after that, which was really a combination of civil engineering and mechanical engineering, if I had to describe it with other engineering branches, because there's a lot of statics involved. There's a lot of like pressure, fluid stuff involved, like balancing equations, mass flow equations, all that good stuff. And then some geology mixed in too. And I really like the geology aspect of it. That was really fun. Excuse me. And so, yeah, I think we're gonna, let's see, also here in medicine, also here in, oh, anyone here in medicine? Keegan, you're in medicine. Wow, that is, I was considering med school for a little bit, and I ultimately decided that it was just going to take away too much time from the channel and from other things that were currently making me money. Because what I wanted to say was I could have been a petroleum engineer. I could have really tried to be one, right? I mean, I have the degree, but I have really no hands-on experience on a rig. It's all just theory. So I would have had to have taken an internship and then like really kind of worked my way into the industry that way, which would have again taken more time from the channel. But if I had done that, I would have come out of there making between 60 to 80, maybe even 100K. A good friend of mine who had similar GPA I did got he got a really good six-figure starting salary and like a $20,000 signing bonus. It pays very well, but I get to be my own boss here. You know, I get to communicate with you guys on a more personal level, especially in the live streams. I get to take in your feedback and travel the planet talking about tech. And to me, that's a much better job, even though it doesn't pay anywhere near as much as that does. So like after all the stuff that I have to pay for every year to even get this channel running, like I make significantly less than I would in the field as a petroleum engineer. So hopefully that changes. It would be nice to be able to like make more money, and it's getting better as the channel grows. The income goes up, the ad spots roll in. It's kind of a progressive thing, but yeah, I think the real reason why I chose not to really pursue it heavily after I got out of undergrad school was just because I like doing this so much. I could have played the game like everyone else and applied for all kinds of things. I just didn't really see. I don't know. I wasn't as passionate about it at that point because I was putting all my eggs into the YouTube basket. So it's been treating me well so far. Definitely has its hurdles, but anyway, we're still chugging along. Thanks to you guys. Thanks for watching, especially the live streams. You guys are so cool. Like 10:17 p.m. on a Sunday night, and 360 of you are watching. I hope you at least feel like you got something out of this live stream, especially toward the beginning when we're talking about the RTX 2016 1660 Ti. We'll be archiving this live stream, so stay tuned for that if you want to watch from the beginning. If you can't scroll back, I don't know if you can or not. YouTube's been kind of whack again lately. But Lucas Waskowski will end with this $10 super chat from him. I appreciate that. Come work in the oil fields with me. Wow, what should I do with my pair of GTX 980 SCs? I love the channel. Keep it up. Cool, Lucas. I didn't know you worked in the oil field. I wonder where you work. If you're in the States, you're going to be up in the Dakotas or maybe in Texas, but you say up, so up in, I'm assuming it's going to be in the Dakotas. That's my guess. I don't know. Or maybe even higher than that. Maybe working like Purdue Bay, like up in Alaska. That would be cool. I wouldn't mind working way up there. But anyway, with those 980s, look, if you got a pair of them, I would try to sell them individually. Try to sell one on eBay, feel out the market, see what you get for it, and then sell the other one after that. You might be able to get, I don't know, 980s are selling, I bought 970s for about $100. You might get 130 to 140, maybe even 150, 160 for a 980. You got to kind of feel it out. 980s are very comparable to 1060s, and 1060s are still selling for 250 to $300. So I think anything under $200 is worth trying. And then hey, you could make $300 out of the sale. So you're getting some of your money back at least. That's a good thing about selling used. And then let's see here. Kafasa asks, good question, Kafasa. You mentioned that the iPhone XR has a good screen, but can you tell the difference between HD and Full HD 2K? How noticeable is it? By the way, why didn't you study something hardware related? So in my opinion, like to answer your second question first, engineering was hardware related. Like it wasn't computer stuff, but at that point, if I wanted to do something hardware related, then I would have had to have also learned the software side of it, and I was not as passionate about the software side. Like you can't just go to school and get a degree in like computer engineering and expect to not do like deal with software. And the software part scared me a lot. So that's why I kind of stayed out of that part of it. I'm getting into software slowly but surely. Like I'm learning some Python. I'm learning how to write scripts. I talked about that today on Twitter. And then like HTML5, CSS. Like I'm trying to get to the point where I can kind of blend all that stuff, back end and front end. But I was just never as excited about it, and that was one of the reasons why I never got a degree in like computer science or anything like that. I really just stick with the hardware, and then I try to figure out how the hardware works. And if some software is mixed in, fine, I learned something. But I'm not gonna just go to school and just learn software. Like I'm not as excited about that. And then to answer your other question, yeah, I can tell the difference between HD and so HD 720 is what you mean by that. So that's official HD, and then full HD is 1080 for those who are wondering. So yeah, you can really tell, especially on like a monitor or TV, right? When the aspect is when your screen size is much bigger. But when you're talking about a 6-inch screen, in my opinion, like if I hold my Pixel 3, which has a similar screen size to the iPhone XR, this has a 1080p screen. The XR has a just slightly higher than 720p screen. I can tell the difference if I get close. If I hold it far back enough away, like if I hold it this far away, I can't tell at all. I have to get pretty close to see it. And I have perfect vision without glasses up close. I can't see far away, so it's not that. But that's really that's I think the issue. I think people kind of blew it out of proportion, in my opinion. I did not think it was that big a deal. Look, I'm a screen junkie. I can tell the difference between 1080p and 1440p easily. But on a screen, on a cell phone screen, if I can, it's like barely noticeable. And even then, I would happily trade that slight resolution difference for a severe bump up in battery life. And that was a justification I was trying to make in the video. It was like, look, yeah, it's lower, and people are gonna, take this bit of information and just like completely take a dump on the 10R because it's an $800 phone. It comes with a 768-ish p screen. But it really wasn't that big a deal to me. It might be to you. It just wasn't to me. So that's why I said it in the video. I'm not afraid to speak my mind anyway. Microphone I'm using, Rayon, I said this a little earlier in the live stream, is the Behringer B1 paired with a Yamaha MG10XU mixer. That stuff is linked down below. Maybe not the Behringer. I use an AT2035 behind me for most videos on the channel, but for live streams, it's the Behringer. Anyway, I am going to sign off. Bloodbath asks if the 1660 Ti is worth it. Check out the beginning of the live stream. I talked about all this stuff in the beginning if you're just now tuning in. I appreciate you guys for watching. I'm going to sign out because it's a little over 10:20 right now here. That's a little late. I know it's even later or possibly even earlier the next day for some of you, depending on where you are on the planet. But I appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully you had a little fun here in this live stream. And again, we do this pretty much every Sunday night unless something comes up like CES or I'm like severely sick. So stay tuned for next Sunday's live stream. We'll pick some other pairs of interesting stuff to talk about. I'll also be, I think, appearing on Brian's stream as well over at Tech Yes City, so stay tuned for his live stream if you want a bit of kind of a co-op over there. Brian's a good guy, and we have fun kind of just firing ideas off of each other. So anyway, I'm excited about that. You guys have been awesome tonight. I will see you in the next one, actually the next video, which I'll upload, I think, Tuesday. Don't hold me to that, but it'll be probably around Tuesday. I do everything really myself. I don't have an editor. I don't have a cameraman. I don't have a script person. Like, it's all done by me, so it kind of just depends on how quickly I can get something done without compromising on quality. And that's ultimately subjective, so sometimes it's not going to be as good, but hopefully the information contained in the video is still spot on, and that's what I think you guys value the most about this channel, because when I started I was filming on like a POS like Nikon. I don't know. It was cheap, like $100 camera. Watch some of our first videos if you want to know what that looks like. Anyway, I'm signing off. You guys have been awesome. This is Science Studio, and we'll catch you again next video.